Court has said that the pilot should not be blamed for Air India, the Ahmedabad crash that had taken place, and the Supreme Court has come down heavily saying that it's a sad incident, but the preliminary report does not indicate that the pilot was at fault and such misreporting should not be there. The Supreme Court has also expressed condolences to the father of the Air India pilot Sabharwal, and the petitioner had gone on to say that we want an independent investigation into the accident under the International Aircraft Accidents Convention. The Supreme Court has now adjourned the hearing to next week is what we are learning. But that is in fact a big statement coming in from the Supreme Court, which has almost admonished those who were blaming the pilot Sabharwal for the Air India crash in Ahmedabad that had taken place earlier this year. They're saying that the preliminary report has no indications that go on to blame the pilot. Reports, including those in the Western media, had started raising questions with regards to the mental health of pilot Sabharwal as well. Anshul brings us those breaking inputs. Let's quickly go across to Anshul. Anshul, if you can share with us what the Supreme Court has had to say.
Well, yes, the Supreme Court has accepted the petition that was filed from the father of the pilot. That flight, Air India flight that crashed in Ahmedabad, and now in the petition, the father had gone ahead and said that the manner in which misreporting has been done and the investigation that has been done somewhere or the other points fingers towards his son, that it was due to their fault that this entire incident had happened. Remember the initial investigations report that had come out that had actually stated that the fuel switch was turned off, due to which the supply of fuel to the engines had stopped and the plane eventually crashed. Now the father in his petition had gone ahead and stated that the manner in which this entire investigation has been done and fingers are being pointed towards his son, this is something that is not acceptable at all. And taking forward from this cue, the Justice Surya Kant, in fact, who was hearing this case, very clearly stated that we are extremely sorry that this accident happened, and this gentleman should actually not bear the burden of his son at this point in time, and that is the reason why there is no insinuation that has been made at this point that could actually point fingers towards the pilot. Keeping in mind this petition, the Supreme Court has now gone ahead and adjourned this matter to be heard on the 10th of November itself, and during that meantime, it has asked the Union of India and DGCA to come in with a reply, and notice for the same has also been issued.
All right, stay with me, Anshul. Stay with me. Let me quickly also go across to Anvit, who continues to stay with us. Anvit, in his petition, the father had also requested for a judicial inquiry. What are you learning? Has there been any instruction sent out by the top court to the centre with regards to that request for a judicial inquiry?
See, Akanksha, it was on October 10th that a writ was filed. It was 246 pages writ, and it was filed by father of Sabharwal, and he had said, and the FIP, Federation of Indian Pilot, and they have together said that the writ was in fact filed against DGCA, Union of Government, and the AAIB. So they have said in that they have requested for judicial inquiry, and they have said certain grounds on which this should be considered. Now this will be heard on November 10th, as we are told now, and the grounds were very strong. They had in fact said that because of the respondents have conducted a perfunctory, biased and technically deficient investigation into the crash of Air India AI 171, ignoring critical inconsistencies, material evidences and plausible systematic causes, thereby undermining the credibility of the inquiry. In fact, the writ further goes on to mention that the hasty and unfounded attribution of the crash to the pilot's error without corroborative evidence and comprehensive technical analysis renders the investigation arbitrary, perversive and violative of Article 14 and 21 of the Constitution of India. Other than this, there were many other points. Like they had also mentioned that the pilot, blame of the crash has been put on the pilot by the media and by other. In fact, initial report that AIB came out, it only had an excerpt from the cockpit voice recorder. So they said that the only selective expert also puts the onus on the pilot. So they have mentioned multiple points, but that the investigation was biased and it did not get into technical details of the crash. This is what the ground is, and now the court, we are being told that it will be heard on November 10th.
Stay with me. Let me quickly take that forward with Anshul as well, who's also very much on the broadcast. Anshul, so as Anvit has been referring to that preliminary report, which has become the basis for that petition of the father of pilot Sabharwal, if you can take us through what the preliminary report had also stated.
There were excerpts from the report that had come out, and which eventually, somewhere or the other, a lot of blame had been shifted towards the pilot. It seemed from that, and that is why there was a lot of noise on social media as well, where a lot of people had started raising questions that how can the investigation, which has not been done in its fullest of manner, can actually go ahead and come out with such conclusions, and that is the reason this entire petition was filed. In fact, as I mentioned, that in that report it was stated that the fuel switch to the engines was shut off, and there was a conversation a line of conversation that was taken from the black box that was also mentioned over there, that the senior pilot asked the junior pilot that why did you turn off the fuel switch, to which the junior pilot replied that I did not do so. So this was one point on which there was a lot of discussion, and over the past many months now, there were constant allegations that were being put forth, specifically from the side of international media as well, that it was due to the fault of the pilot that this very tragic incident had happened, and that eventually turned out to be the reason why this writ petition was filed. Initially taking up this writ petition, the Justice Surya Kant very clearly stated that the onus or the burden of anything that has been done cannot fall on the pilot himself at this point, since the investigation is still underway, and the father of the pilot should not be made subject to all these allegations, and that is the reason why the Supreme Court has now accepted to take up this entire petition, and has now issued notices to both DGCA and the Union of India, which are respondents in this entire matter, to come up with a reply as to what has been done and why a judicial investigation is needed in this entire matter, as the petition suggests. So on the 10th of November, both the DGCA and the Union of India will file their replies in front of the courts, where they will state that what have they done in this investigation, how this investigation has been unbiased, and it remains to be seen that if at all the Supreme Court will then actually try to go ahead and listen this entire case with all merit points.
Absolutely. Pushkar Raj Sabharwal, the father of the late Captain Sabharwal, and of course the Federation of Indian Pilots have been the petitioners in this entire case. Many thanks to you, Anshul and Anvit, for bringing us those breaking inputs.